Love that music. I never get tired of listening to that. It's awesome. Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Sasquatch Outpost podcast, and this is episode 12 tonight. And got a great show for you. I'm really excited about the guests we have on tonight. Patricia, you're always there first. You're always in the room first, and first to put a super sticker up. Thank you for that. Hey, Wayne's there, Doug Coho, John Ayers. Great to have all of you there. Looking forward to being with you tonight. And if you have not subscribed, we would love for you to do that, to hit the bell and subscribe to the podcast. We just got our stats for the first quarter of the year, and Sasquatch Outpost podcast had over 10,000 views in the six podcasts that we had in the first quarter. So go Sasquatch Outpost podcast. I'm excited. Can't wait to see what the second quarter is going to look like. It was actually almost 11,000. So, and as I mentioned last week, we are now booking for all of our trips in the summertime. Steph, you can put that slide up real quick for me. So we've got night hikes. There's a couple planned this month, and one in June, one in July. If you'll go to the address that Steph will put up on the screen when she has a chance for the Rabbit Hole Adventures, you can book that. You can just go back to, there you go. We do have a backpacking trip coming up quick, and because the Forest Service took a long time to get us our permit, this is going to be probably too quick for many people, but this will be a backpacking trip into Lost Creek Wilderness. We'll have a couple of horses, and Jill would be joining us with the horses. So if you've ever wanted to do something like this, this is your chance. I'm only going to do one of these backpacking expeditions this summer. So you can look online at the Rabbit Hole Adventures site and check that out. We've got some camping expeditions. We got horseback expeditions, one of which we're doing 3 this summer. One is almost full. And so if you're interested in doing that one, which is the August 21st through 23rd, I think there's one spot left on that trip if someone's interested. And then we've got our cave talks. Now we've got a cave talk planned for Thursday night this week at the Outpost. And again, I understand that it's short notice, so we may push that one back a week. We'll see how many people are able to sign up by Thursday. But these are going to be fun talks. I've got lots of stuff in store to show you and to talk about that I don't talk about. I don't talk about at the conferences. I may mention some of the things here on this show, but there's no way I can mention everything that I'll be talking about in the evenings for Cave Talks. So this is your chance to hear some things. We're going to have an extended, you can put the next one up, Steph, for the Cave Talks, extended Q&A session. So questions you have that you've been dying to ask, this will be your chance. It's going to be an informal environment. So hopefully some more people will sign up for the Cave Talks. And let's see, May 30th, put this down on your calendars. Tuesday night, May 30th, we've got an incredible show. I talked about this earlier in the podcast, of one of the first few podcasts we did, and I think we're going to pull it off. So May 30th. So for those who are familiar with the Sasquatch Genome Project, happened 10 years ago. It was the first DNA analysis of Sasquatch that had ever been done. And we are probably about at the 10-year anniversary of that project. On May 30th, we're going to have a special show, and I have Melba Ketchum, Adrian Erickson, Dennis Full, and Randy Brisson going to be together on the show. It'll probably be a 2-hour show. And the reason I'm doing this is to give them the opportunity to talk about the Sasquatch Genome Project and how it came about, why they did it, what the DNA results were. It's been widely criticized in the last 10 years. And so I figured they would like and need an opportunity to share their side of that whole situation. And they've not been together in the past 10 years once. This will be the first time that group has come back together since their press conference 10 years ago. So put that on the calendar and talk it up. We want to get as many people as we can. And it's going to be a great show. Maybe the biggest show we've had up to that point. And I would love to have the biggest audience we've had up to that point. So May 30th, same date, same day, same time, for a very special Sasquatch Genome reunion and review. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. Why don't we show a little bit of Doug's new project coming up with the Sasquatch Legend Meets Science movie 2. Let's see a little bit of that.
In the depths of our world's most remote and uncharted forests, an enigma has captivated the hearts and minds of people for generations. Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti. This legendary creature has been known by many names, but its existence remains one of the greatest mysteries of our time. Now we invite you on a thrilling journey into the unknown with Legend Meets Science 2, a groundbreaking documentary that will change everything you thought you knew about Bigfoot. Join us as we uncover never-before-seen strategies and cutting-edge technology that could finally reveal the truth about this elusive creature. Witness exclusive footage captured using innovative camera traps designed specifically for this enigmatic being. But what makes these camera traps so unique? And how will they revolutionize our understanding of Bigfoot? Discover how an ingenious invention, a remote-controlled interactive robot, might change everything we know about this mysterious creature. Explore fast.
So this is a very exciting project. They're trying to get the funding for it through Kickstarter, and it's going to be a great one. They've got a lot of groundbreaking technology they want to use. It's not cheap, which is why they need to do the Kickstarter, but I'm excited about it. I plan to be a contributor to it, and I hope some of you will too. I think their goal is something like 80 grand, which is a very high goal, but that's what it's going to cost to produce this movie. So great respect for Doug and Dr. Meldrum, who's going to be working with him on that. So just wanted to put that out there for those who would like to invest in something, and there's great incentives available for those who do invest. So my guest tonight is a dear friend, and her name is Jill Herrera, and we can go ahead and bring Jill in. Hey, Jill.
Hi, everybody.
Jill is sitting on her back deck down near Guffey, Colorado. And so Jill, I met Jill through her son, John. Now, John had some really crazy experiences with Sasquatch while living on Jill's property a number of years ago. John found out about me and about the museum, started contacting me on his own first. He had actually, and I'm sure Jill will tell us, but he had been making fun of Jill for a long time about her thinking about Sasquatch. And so, but then some weird things started to happen, and he reached out to me. We got on the phone together and we're talking, and he had some things happen, like he woke up on the floor of his trailer having been knocked out by something in his trailer, and woke up on the floor with a big knot on the front of his head. And I couldn't find that photo, unfortunately, but the photo, it shows John looking in the mirror, pulling his hair up to look at the knot on his head and taking a picture of himself in the mirror, and behind him, you can see this thing. It, for all the world, it looks like a juvenile Sasquatch in the corner of the trailer in the dark, holding two lead pipes is what it looks like. And we think that's what happened. He got knocked on the head by one of them, and he had several experiences. So anyway, we got to talking, and through him, I met Jill, and found out that Jill had been an outfitter for many years when they lived in California. And we got to talking about, why don't we start doing something here with Sasquatch Expeditions? And she's been my horseback partner ever since. And we've done, how many trips did we do last year, Jill? 4?
We
or
did
5?
5.
5.
And then the 2 movie. Well, we did. Then the year before was 2 or 3. 3 movies. 3 different movies.
Yeah. So we've been together in documentaries. We've done these horseback adventures. So it's been a great working relationship, and I hope we have many more fun times together in the future.
That's my fingers.
Yeah, there you go. Knock on wood. So Jill, I think, why don't we start by you just telling folks where you come from, what your background is, before we get into our topic for tonight.
I grew up in the Mojave Desert, in a small town called Mojave. My dad was no nonsense Marine, taught us all how to hunt, fish, survive. Back in those days, they didn't have bottled water. We got canteens from the surplus store, and we'd just go for days out into the desert. And sometimes we'd camp overnight. Of course, we had to tell mom and dad we were going to do that. Anyway, so my love.
Those were the days, huh, when kids just go wander off and
you didn't have to worry about
be
them.
fine. Yeah.
Somebody would bring them back. So anyway, I started camping, with my parents, and then it's my love. I absolutely love it. Then I incorporated horses into it, and I had 2 girlfriends that absolutely talked me into going into the Sierra Nevadas, and it was just us girls because I couldn't find a guy that wanted to go with 3 women. So,
chicken guys, what's up with that?
I know they didn't want to go.
Yes, to go out in the woods with 3 women. Come on.
And it was a vacation for my husband. So
yeah.
Anyway, so I would grab the kids, they would grab their kids. We'd make everybody go and take horses and just go back, and we'd hide from the rangers because we didn't want any problems. So anyway, and we camped back there. And we would do like a week at a time. Every vacation I got, I would go. Now, at the time, I was working for the state of California as a correctional officer. So
yeah,
I was in a
you're looking at
job.
a prison guard here. This gal is tough, I'm telling you.
Well, I had 2 brothers that used to wrestle and beat the living daylights out of me. So
Jill's told me some stories about not taking down some big guys in the prison. Yeah. I don't mess with Jill.
It's mind over matter. You just got to go for it. But anyway, so I did that for 26 years, and I worked for the Highway Patrol for 6. But I took every vacation up in the mountains. I mean, I loved it. And I never heard anything, and I didn't believe in Bigfoot. I loved watching the programs and laughing at everybody. And, it's not to say I didn't believe them. Some of those people are extremely believable. I just couldn't process it in my mind. Because my dad,
like many people,
my dad had told me everything that was out there, and that wasn't one of them. Plus, he told me there was nothing under the bed, so I believed him. Now I wonder, there might have been something.
Man, I always thought there's something under my bed. I put my stuffed animals all around the edge of the bed to protect me from whatever was going to climb up otherwise. And
that hand in the middle of the night,
the hand, the creeping hand. Oh my God.
So anyway, from there, I convinced my husband. California would just outpriced us. I'm a working person. I can't afford. Oh my goodness. My girlfriend's paying $39 for a small bale of hay right now for her horses. So, and I have 7. I would be probably homeless right now with horses. But anyway, so we moved here, and I loved it.
Well, back up just a second. You used to do outfitting, right? You would take fishermen into the mountains.
So I was kind of exclusive. It was word by mouth. I mean, I didn't really advertise. And what happened was the girls and I were packing. I had pack horses, and I did all the work. They used to sit there and watch me,
I
and
believe it.
I love them to death. Anyway, we ran into some doctors, and I ran into another group of guys that were hiking in, and they said, "Man, it would be so easy to come in with horses." And I said, "Well, why don't you give me a call?" I gave them my number, and they did. So for 20 years, I packed 4 doctors in. One was a dentist, and 3 were doctors, surgeons, and I mean, they loved it. They would not ride horses, but I packed them back there, and they would stay a week or 2 weeks, and I would cook for them, and they would leave. I mean, I'm there by myself, me and the horses, and never heard anything. I mean, it was a blast. And then I ran into some other professionals, professional businessmen that made a lot of money, and they wanted to go back, and they just like word of mouth. And pretty soon I was just busy every single summer. I finally had to say, enough. I'm getting too old to be doing this, and you talked me back into it. So
Well,
anyway.
that's important, I think, for folks to hear, particularly those who are interested in coming on one of these trips with us, that you have a lot of experience. We're not
Yeah.
we're not fly by night, you know.
When I was younger, I worked for Red Meadows Pack Station, and my first trip, they gave me a riding horse, and I had 9 mules on that one. Thank God we didn't use donkeys. But the last mule, well, actually, I didn't know he was the last mule. I put him in the middle. He would go a half a mile down the trail and go to bucking and buck his pack off. And I learned really fast where that mule went and how to repack really fast on a cliff. So yeah, I've had some hairy stuff.
She's had some, and we've had some interesting times since we've been doing this together. But it's great fun, and I'll tell you, Jill knows how to handle horses. We went out was it day before yesterday, I can't remember. Rode about 9 miles, just looking over the trail for one of the camps that we're going to take our guests to. And we just have to ride the trail and make sure everything's going to work, and you know, break off eye pokers. They're going to get people if they're not looking at where they're going. And so the horse that Jill was going to ride, Ozzy, was being a butthead in the morning. And man, you should have seen Jill. She whipped that horse. He's a big horse. And she whipped that boy in shape, and they went around and around in circles in the yard until he finally gave up. And he was a perfect gentleman the rest of the way. So she knows what she's doing. So anyway, so you moved to Colorado to Guffey?
To Guffey, to this property, and it was just amazing. It had been empty for 5 years, and an old man had lived in it for, I think, 3 years before that, and they finally put him in a home. And his sons were selling the place, and I mean, it was bad. And so when we got here, we had a lot of work to do, and we were doing a lot of painting. There was a lot of Oriental people running around in the forest.
You thought.
Well, my husband said, "Are there Oriental people out here?" And I said, I haven't met all our neighbors, but I haven't seen any. So
you're painting and you're hearing voices that sound Oriental in the woods.
Yeah, whole conversations, but
that's crazy.
You couldn't understand them and they were right there, and you could hear the sound as if they were within, I don't know, 10 feet, but it was a woman and a guy sometimes, but mostly this woman that, man, she was chatty. She talked a lot. So my screen went crazy.
No, that's okay. There's a few times I'm going to make you the center of attention here. So,
okay. So anyway,
you're the main deal tonight.
Oh, thanks. So we thought it was our neighbors, but come to find out, we didn't have any neighbors except one really old lady that she was in her 70s that lived back in the forest. And anyway, so we didn't have any neighbors.
Okay.
It was just us. There was nobody out there speaking any language. I don't know what that was. So,
but it's interesting because that was early on in your time there.
Yeah, I'm going to show you. I have this book. So I'm a correctional officer at heart, and I used to write everything down. And so when my husband started saying, "It's an owl," I mean, that was his standard.
It's an owl.
Everything.
Yeah, there
it's
you go.
An owl. I'd say, okay. So I started writing things down and the dates. I didn't put like May 2nd. I just put 2016, and then I got like all kinds of stuff. Tree knocks. I started hearing that. I love living in the desert. I open my windows at night, and so I had all my windows open here, and we didn't have any curtains because we didn't need them. We're in the middle of nowhere, and I would hear these tree knocks, and that was really weird.
It was those owl squatches knocking on the
Yeah,
trees.
it was the owl. And then I started hearing weird roars and screams, and he had a hard time explaining those. Monkey chatter was the worst. I'd come out and you'd hear
Interesting.
like a monkey having a fit, the eek, 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 eek. It's like there's nothing else. I've heard it at the zoo,
Yeah.
So I thought, gosh,
In the monkey house.
I hope somebody didn't lose a monkey, a pet monkey or something out here. So I wrote that down. Eye shine. That was the owl, but it was like 8 feet up in the tree. And sometimes there was no branch where the eye shine was. It was just, and that's the other thing too. When you're out in the forest and you see eyes that are that far apart, I mean, look at my eyes. Mine almost touch, but I mean, you're out in the forest and
Yeah.
hang on, this camera does backwards, so you have to do everything backwards. But when you see eyes that are that far apart, it's not an owl.
And they're red, it's not an owl.
I saw some red. Both Ashton and I saw the red ones, and we were like,
Yeah.
what is that? Of course, her first thought, being a youngster, is it's a demon.
A demon. There's a demon in the tree outside.
And it's like 9 feet tall. No,
He's got a forked tail and horns. And
I said, why would you say that? She said, because it has red eyes. And I said,
well,
predators.
for some people, Sasquatch is about as crazy as a demon in the tree.
I
So
know. I explained it away that predators have red eyes sometimes because of the blood, and that there's a layer across their eye that reflects, and sometimes it reflects red. So
yeah, no.
I mean, I've seen cats, big mountain lions, but not that big. Anyway, we got everything. Oh, so this was fun. I would go out there. I wish I should have brought it up here on the deck. I was going to do that. And there's a rock that's about that. Well, I don't know if you guys can see that on TV. It's like a obelisk. It's like a pyramid shape, but it's the neatest rock. And it was funny. It just started appearing everywhere, and it would move. And I thought,
you thought that's no owl. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I asked Rob, did you move this rock? He goes, no. And I said, well, it's funny because it was over there on the stump and now it's over here. So I started moving the rock, and then we started playing a game. Whoever we is, I don't know. I would move the rock, and then I would come out and it would be someplace else. And it was fun to try to find it. So I did that for a while. And then one day I'm walking and there's a perfect X with sticks. And what's really interesting about the X is it's not a sloppy X. It is 2 perfect sticks, pine sticks. I mean, not anything unusual, but they're perfect. They're the same exact size. If you put them together, they are the same exact size. And there's an X on the ground. So I thought, oh, we moved from the rock to the X. So then I started putting circles, triangles, and squares, and then that X would appear in the middle of my square. So
wow.
I don't know what that was. Was it a neighbor? I don't know who would come over here at 2 o'clock in the morning, but anyway, more power to him if it was. So we went through all that, and then the only thing I ever got it to take, besides chicken eggs, is because I have a chicken coop, and
she's got a bunch of chickens. Yep.
It takes eggs once in a while. I had a orange, not blue. I had a blue marble in there too. I had an orange and a blue tiger eye. If anybody knows what that is, marbles. It's kind of got a line in it.
Yeah.
And it took the orange one, and then it left me a knot out of a tree. So I was like, okay, that's an even trade. So this has gone on, and I've got pages and pages.
Yeah.
Of things that happen
until the fateful day.
Well, because John was calling me the crazy lady, and I mean, every Christmas I was getting inundated with all the stuff from your store.
That's her neighbor. Well, John would come. Your son would come and buy stuff from my store as a joke for Christmas. You.
Yep. Yeah. I got creature hair and T-shirts and sweatshirts and cups, mugs that say, "He doesn't believe in you either."
Yeah, you guys have a bunch of my stuff in your house for sure.
And I was okay with that. I finally kind of got the creeps, and I started closing my screens. I didn't leave them open, and I can't tell you why. I mean, I never saw anything. I just got this feeling, and I always paid attention to my feeling at work. So I mean, it saved my life a couple times. But anyway, I was going to work at 4:30. I got a job up at the casinos, and I was a dealer, so I had to be there early. So I was going to work about, well, I had to be there by 4:30. So I was leaving the house every morning at 3:30 in the morning.
And you were working in Cripple Creek at the time?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
working at Cripple Creek. And by then we had found footprints. That was, I think the footprints, if I hadn't seen him, if I just had the footprints, it would have been enough for me. They were amazing. And plus the sounds. I hope you have some of the recordings.
Oh, I do. We're going to play some of them.
We've got tons of recordings.
Yeah.
And what I did is I got nervous about, because John swore there's no Bigfoot, and he said, Mom, it's people. And I thought, well, okay, so say he's right and it's not a Bigfoot or a creature or the devil, like Ashlyn thinks. I should probably put some cameras and some lights and stuff around just for safety. I put curtains up in the house because Ashlyn wouldn't sleep over here anymore. So that's my dog.
Had they started slapping the house yet at that point?
Yeah, that was another thing too. The chatter, the eye shine, and then the rocks stacked up, and then the the stomping on the ground, and then they started slapping the side of the house, and they didn't just slap it. I mean, my house sits on a foundation, but it's a rock foundation, and so when you hit my house really loud, it sounds like you're coming through the wall, and they would make the dishes rattle in my cupboard.
Rattle your dishes.
I mean,
that's a heavy whack.
Yeah, and he would say, it's an earthquake. And I would say,
it's an earthquake.
Okay.
We get so many of those in Colorado all the time,
At least he didn't do the owl thing,
Yeah.
So it was an earthquake. And so then I get on the computer and I would go to the seismology
and there was nothing
website
that day.
Yeah. And the closest earthquake was like a 0.2, and it was in Cortez. So I mean, there was.
And it's funny how the earthquake only affects one little section of your house,
right?
Where they're slapping it.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, we had knocks on the door. Bam, bam, bam. I shouldn't say knocks. We had pounding like it was the SWAT team coming in at 12 o'clock at night. My husband went out with a gun. And there was nothing there. And what's interesting is my dogs bark at pretty much everything. They didn't make a peep. Of course, Stubbs got grabbed by.
And we got that. We got that recording too.
And she really doesn't like them. So if they're around, she wants in. Like now.
And Ralph, her husband, is a retired state patrol. So, he knows how to use a gun.
He's my naysayer. He's
We're going to convince him, Jill. Just wait. We're going to convince him.
I just wish he'd been there that night. I would have drugged him out there and so loved the expression. I can't wait.
Is he watching this show inside?
He might be. I don't know. I had to go in there. But anyway, So
you were going to work 3:30 in the morning.
You want me to tell him about that? All right.
Yeah, I want you to tell that story.
The circle of safety, because my whole world rocked. All rocked. I was. I don't know. Can I lift up the thing and show him? Kind of. Is that okay? See the garage over there? Okay, and then my back door is over there. All right, so I got to go from there to the garage where my car was parked. I hope you guys could see that. Anyway, so I headed down the stairs, and I had put a light on the chicken coop purposely because I kept seeing this dark black thing move in the corner of my eye. And I had seen it the week before, and I got talking to my oldest son, and he said, I will put up lights for you, Mom, because there'll be motion detection lights. So if anything's out there, it'll light up and you get to see what it is. And I said, oh, thank you. So he did. And this was 2 weeks into it. I walked down the steps and the light came on, and I turned my head, and there's a 9-foot Bigfoot standing there staring at me. And I had the keys in my hand and my purse on my shoulder. And I knew I would never get the right key if I wanted, and I'd lock the door because my husband's still sleeping inside. So I knew I couldn't get the key in the back door. I wouldn't find the right key. It would eat me before that. I mean, you know, my heart's going 100 miles an hour. My world's turned upside down. I'm thinking, oh my God, everything everybody said is wrong, 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 wrong. And this is for real. I mean, I'm I'm not drunk. I haven't been drinking. You know, I woke up, I took a shower, I'm wide awake. I was going to my car to go to work. I'm looking at this 9-foot Bigfoot, and I can tell you it had almond-shaped eyes. The thing I was looking for is it did not have whites. I could not see any white in its eyes. And I think that's where people get it's a devil or evil looking, because we're really used to seeing whites in all of our animals and ourselves. And this didn't have it.
Yeah. So it's just dark recesses
Almond-shaped
where
eyes.
their eyes are. Yeah.
Cheeks, skin, not. I had no sense that this was a animal. I had absolutely no sense it was an ape at all. I was looking at a huge, ginormous humanoid like. It was human because it bored right through you, and I just knew it was going to eat me. It was so huge. I would not taste good, so I think it had good thoughts. But my whole world rocked at that moment, and I watched him. He stepped behind the tree, and then and of course I have a sense of humor. He had 2 huge arms sticking out on either side of the tree. He was hiding behind this ginormous tree that we have back there that's probably at least 3 foot across. Okay, it's by the outback. And I knew he was 9 feet because the eaves on the back of the outback are at 9. We measured them. What were they? 9'6"?
Yeah, right around 9. And he
9 foot.
was he under the eaves, or was he?
Well, when he was next to that tree, he kept peeking. He had those arms. The tree had arms, and then he'd peek out and look at me, and then he'd peek the other way and look at me. So as he was peeking out, I could see the eaves. His head was right at the height of the eaves, so I knew he was 9 feet, or somewhere close to that. It didn't matter if it was 8'10". It's still really tall.
And obviously he didn't eat you.
No, at the minute my brain, this is where I think you guys are really going to think I'm crazy now. I think they're telepathic. I think they can communicate without, or they can read us, or he read my body language. I don't know, because I know horses can read your body language, and horses have an ability to read your thoughts.
They can sense your fear. Yeah.
And little kids and stuff, they're good for therapy. I mean, they're amazing animals. But as soon as it popped into my head that I was going to run for the garage, he just stepped out casually from behind the tree and just turned around and walked away. Like, oh, she's scared. I guess I'll leave. I ran for the car. I locked the door to the garage. My heart was going 100 miles an hour. I didn't want to open the garage door and drive out, because I knew he'd jump on the top of the car and punch through the window and drag me out the window and then eat me, and nobody would know what happened. So, but that's all in my imagination, because he didn't do that. I went to work, and when I got to work, I called my husband and said, "Why didn't you wake up? He was going to eat me."
He's like, who was going to eat you?
Yeah, Bigfoot. Anyway, when I saw him, I mean, it matters not to me if you believe me or not. But I would say this to you. Be prepared. I don't know how you're going to do it, because I was a correctional officer for 26 years, and there was no preparation on that. What if you see one? I mean, I just froze like a deer in the headlights, and I mean, that's not me, but it was such a huge animal or thing. And I finally saw what was making the footprints around my house and slapping on the side of the house. It just blew everything that all my conceptions of the world are not the same anymore. Period.
So I want to, I believe her too. And I've been with her when stuff's been going on. So,
but it doesn't matter if you guys see this thing out there. I don't know how to prepare you for that. I don't know how to prepare you for your whole world just going upside down. You know.
So so she has these cameras all around the house,
Oh, I have a circle
and
of safety.
and motion lights. And the weird thing is, I've been in our house many times at night, and these lights will go on 1, 2, 3 in order, and there's nothing there setting
That you
them
can
off
see. There
that
is
you can see,
nothing
but the
that you
lights are going off in order. And so we got several videos I want to show you guys, and we'll talk about them. This first one, just to set it up, these are all recorded from these video cameras, and the sound isn't the best in the world because it's the video that you're really interested in. So this Sasquatch is what I think is the Sasquatch is screaming outside the house. Excuse me. And you can hear coyotes going in the background, because often when Sasquatch gets going, the coyotes, it just kicks the
right.
coyotes up.
It does. It does.
So you can hear the coyotes, you can hear the Sasquatch, and it actually barks. Part of what it's doing is barking, but it's also screaming. So let's
But
play that one.
before you
Well,
do,
yeah.
the Sasquatch, we have heard, I mean, I've hunted elk and deer and everything else. They imitate their natural environment.
Yeah.
There's a thing out here that we call the sonic bird, because there's a bird that is active at night out here, but there's no bird. It's not a bird. It's a whistle. Some people describe it as a whistle, but they imitate elk, but it's not an elk because it's just off.
Imitate coyotes for sure.
I grew up in Mojave. We had coyotes. That was our neighborhood dog. But I've never heard.
Well, and I've heard them bark, and my research partners have heard them bark. So I know they do that. They do bark.
It's the volume of this sound that I can't give you, that you could feel it. It was like it was almost like a vibration went right through you too, which a coyote.
So it's hard to get a feel for the volume from this video, but the volume was very loud, and then you'll hear John get fed up and come out at the end. So go ahead and play that one, Steph. So play it one more time, and just through the vocalizations. But this camera is on top of the garage, looking down at the front of the cabin.
Right, in the side of my house.
Yeah. So just play the sounds, and then you can stop it. So John just got fed up. And here's the interesting thing. John yells, "Hey," and the Sasquatch stops. The coyotes keep going because they don't care if somebody's yelling. But the Sasquatch stopped.
Yep. Did you notice he backed into the house?
He comes out with his gun. John's always wearing a gun. So
yeah, but he back into the house.
Yeah. So again, it's just kind of a mix between a bark and a yell, but it's loud. I've heard the recordings from a different angle, and man, it is loud.
It is.
So that was one evening. Then this other evening, so on the deck where Jill is sitting. So if you're standing outside next to the deck, the railing's probably 3 feet above my head if I'm standing on the ground. So the deck is elevated.
Yeah, it's 4 foot to the deck.
4 foot to the bottom of the deck.
Correct. And then to the top of the rail, which is right there, is another 4
3.
foot.
Yeah.
No, that's 4. And
So
then so that's 8 foot to right there where
yeah.
you're seeing the
So
top.
you have to go up steps to get up on the deck.
Yeah, or fall down, whichever.
So this recording is their dog Stubbs, who you hear barking. He's on the deck at night. Then you hear him yelp because what happened? Why did he yelp, Joe?
So
Or
Stubbs
she?
very long haired, and we figured that it grabbed her because she's real shy. She's a what do they call those dogs? Fur face dogs. Golden retriever. So she's got a huge coat on her, and something grabbed her.
Something grabbed her, reached over the railing and grabbed her
with a hand because it pulled out her hair, and she had a bald spot for a good 3 months before the hair grew back. I mean, and it was on the side. It was on her side. And my husband was always like, "Oh, the dogs, they can sleep outside." And I'm like, "Now,
yeah,
they're not eating my dog."
So it grabbed Stubbs, ripped some hair out. You'll hear Stubbs yelp. Then there's a pause. And then I want you to count as you're listening. Count the steps. So they have gravel in their driveway there.
Yes.
Count the steps until you see the light, the motion light come on. See if you can count those steps as she plays this. So who put in the chat? See, how many people? What did you guys count in the chat? If any of you could hear it enough to count. Who wants to take a guess how many steps there were? Anybody? 7. Okay.
Beverly.
Close.
Yep.
So we count 8. So here's no, it was more than 4. Yeah. But so I went out there at night after they showed me this video, and I stood next to the deck and I walked. So I wanted to walk until that light came on to see how far it was. 8 steps that light came on for this what I think it was the Sasquatch. It took me 22 steps for the light to come on.
Yep.
8 versus 22. So it stood there for a second, and then you hear it walk away, and there's definitely 8 steps, but more than 3 times my stride.
And you can't see anything on the camera.
No. And the light goes on and you can't see what turned the light on.
They know,
and you should have seen it walking right in the light. And it wasn't there. So how do you explain that? Bizarre.
Well, on our cameras, guys, I have such a large area around my house and the animals and stuff that I bought as most expensive as I could, which was about $69 from China. So I have, but they're really cool cameras. They have AI, and they pick up infrared. They're just not military grade or anything, but they've done really well for me, because basically when all this happened, I told my husband, I'm going to contact a realtor and we're selling this place and getting the heck out of here. And I was dead heartbeat serious. I did not want to stay here another night. And it was horrifying. I was traumatized. I didn't want to stay here. And one of the reasons I went out with Jim is because I didn't know if I could ever go out into the woods again. And I just bucked up and said, no, this creature's not going to chase me out of the woods. So anyway, but I have these cameras, and they're cheap, but they run off of infrared at night. And whatever this thing is, it can either see where all of my cameras are, or when you turn the camera and I have AI on it, so it'll follow and it does. It will follow them.
Yeah, the camera will move.
Yep, and it will follow whatever is out there, and you can hear the walking on the gravel.
It's following it's invisible. What it's following is bizarre.
And you'll never get a picture of it. So, I mean,
so tell them. So these Sasquatch come on the property, and the horses don't even react anymore.
Oh, Astraita talks to him all the time, and they braid her mane. I'm just like, I just don't get it. But they communicate, I think, and
They braided her mane. If you've been in our museum, the braid from that particular horse's mane is in a case in my museum.
And I grew up in Mojave, which was really windy, so the wind would blow, and it would curl the horse's mane. So if the wind was blowing, it would curl, 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 and what you would come out with is like a dreadlock. But these are not that. These are 3 strands of hair that are braided together. Not if you think of a uniform braid, that's not what it's going to look like. But they're braided enough that you can't get them apart. So, anyway,
and
shapeshifter, I don't know about that, because shapeshifters would kill the horses. I've never had anything killed on this place. Not a chicken, not a horse. And if it was a shapeshifter, according to the Indian legends, you would have some very bad juju, and your animals would be paying the price for it. Other than grabbing stubs, nothing else bad has happened. But we knew it was a family because we found the footprints
in the snow, particularly in the snow.
Oh, and my husband tried to tell me it was some neighbor walking around barefoot at minus 20 degrees in, like, we had 18 inches of snow.
So there was a question of whether it's seasonal or whether they're around there all year.
I thought, because of my scientific brain and writing down all my notes, I thought, this is just a migratory, because I can only get footprints in the wintertime, because the ground out here is extremely hard. My horses don't leave footprints out there, not even after it rains. I mean, it's so hard. I tried to cast tracks in the snow. Unfortunately, you have to use a special technique, and I have to get spray. And of course, this is all after the fact, right? I got pictures of them, and you can see the toes. I measured them. I put all the measurements down. There was 3 separate measurements. One was 12 inches, one was 16 inches, and one was 18 inches long. And the biggest one was 11 inches wide, which was, I mean,
and we'll try and find those photos, and I'll show you at the beginning of next week's broadcast. If we find them, I'll show you those footprint photos.
I wish I could have casted them, but I tried to cast in the snow. But you have to spray the snow and get it to be so it won't.
So it hardens into a shell. Yeah.
Right, and because otherwise the casting material just falls down, and I didn't know. I'd never done it before. So.
Have you ever left food?
So they come and get eggs out of my chicken coop occasionally.
So yes, you do leave food. You leave eggs out for them.
I tried one time. I put apples, because all the programs put apples and stuff, and I thought, I'm gonna go one better. I'm gonna put a banana up there. They're like an ape.
Because they're monkeys, right? Okay.
Yeah. But this was before I saw that one, and I put a date up there, and I put some nuts. And what else did I put up there? Oh, marbles. I put more marbles for them, and I had a tree that I put them up in, and nothing ever touched it. Nothing. So I don't do that anymore, because here's the reason. I don't want them to think I should feed them. I don't want to feed them.
So that if you don't put the food out, they're going to eat you instead.
Pretty much. I don't know. I mean, I know you say they're really friendly, and they never hurt anything on this property. But they still are so huge. I mean,
so this next video. So when I'm at Jill's in the summertime, often I'll go out and I'll spend the night with them, in between expeditions or whatever. And very often I'll get up in the middle of the night, and I'll get out and I'll go walk around the property. And so their corral, you don't know. But John and I have gone out there, and I went out on my own a few days ago. But the corral kind of goes all the way around the house, and it's big. The horses have a lot of room to move.
20
and
acres.
So her son John, I was sleeping in the outbuilding with John that particular night, and he gets up to smoke periodically during the night. So he got up, and I told him, if you hear something, wake me up. So I'm fast asleep, and he comes in and wakes me up and says, I hear some stuff going on out there. So I get up, get dressed, and we go start walking around the perimeter of the corral, and we're not seeing anything. So we get on the other side of the house from where the main house from where we were staying. And I look and I see this light in the woods. And I said, John, what's that light over there? Because I had already seen eye glow before. And so I'm looking for these lights. So I see a light. He goes, oh, that's Don's house. And I said, I thought you told me Don's house was over there in the opposite direction. So John stands there for a minute, kind of getting his bearings, looking around. And he goes, yeah, Don's house is back there. He said, I don't know what that light is. So it's in the trees, in the pasture. It's in the corral where the horses are. They weren't near it at that moment. So I get my night vision binoculars out and I start filming. And what you're going to see in this video are the eyes of this being. I'm assuming it's a Sasquatch. And there's another set of eyes behind the tree, but it never came out enough where I could film that one. But this one, you'll get a definite view. So we'll show it and then I'll talk about it. So the reason it's so shaky, one, it was in October, it was cold. I didn't have a tripod or anything, so I'm just holding these, looking through them. Yeah. Now, I don't know if you noticed, so it's pitch black out there, pitch black. There was no moon that night. There's no lights. There were no lights on anywhere to reflect. These eyes were glowing in the dark. And I don't know if you noticed, but as it's standing there, it's looking right at me and John. And when it's looking at us, you can see the black pupil in its eye. And then it would turn away and look over here or look over here. And it would come back and you see the pupil again, which is really weird. I don't know how this happens. I cannot explain this phenomenon. Obviously, the light, if I'm going off this video, the light isn't coming from the pupil. It's coming from around the pupil, however they do it. But again, it is pitch black out there. I've just got this infrared thing, but we saw the eyes before we ever turned on the binoculars. We could see them with our naked eyes.
Sometimes they're red.
Sometimes they're red. That night they were white, and it was
11 inches apart.
Yeah, so it's very wide apart.
Not an owl.
And it was, I would guess, if I didn't know any better, from the size of the eyes, if they had been smaller, I would have thought they were in one of the trees. But Jill has cut up the branches all the way up, like 10 feet up on those trees for fire. And so they were not in a tree. There's no way they were standing, but their eyes were at the level of where the branches were because they were behind the branches. So they were way the heck up there.
So in the wintertime, I found these marks more than once underneath the trees. And it's like, I'm not going to say this because there's no other way to say it. It's like a butt mark, but a huge butt mark. Those things sit down at the base of a tree and watch. I mean, they're out there. So as far as seasonal, I get fingerprints. I get fingerprints on the doors. I don't get footprints in the summertime that I can identify. And we've even tried. One time we put sand in certain areas and thought they might step across it, but they're way smarter.
They're too smart. They're way too smart for that.
But so wintertime we can track them because of the snow, and in the summertime I can't. And they're here all the time because we have eye shine. And it's not eye shine. I should stop.
It's eye glow, yeah.
Because I do not have a flashlight when I see it. And I'm not shining anything at it. Because I learned a long time ago, you can shine something at it and they're so black that all you see is a black mass with eyeballs. I mean, you can't tell what it is. It's huge, but you can't see it.
And neither John nor I that night thought to take out our bright flashlights and shine it
You wouldn't have
on,
seen anything.
I don't know if we would have seen anything or not, but all we could see through the binoculars were those eyes because they're so bright.
Because I
And
bought the
so,
military grade super duper, goes 17 miles. I'm exaggerating, it goes quite a ways. And I shine
16
that
and a
right,
half.
yeah, but you can make that down to a square.
Uh-huh.
You cannot see it there. I don't know what it is about their
Yeah.
fur at night. You can't see them if they don't want you to.
But again, here's my point with some of this evidence. If you want to be an honest, if you want to approach this scientifically from an honest perspective, you have to follow the evidence where it takes you. And the evidence here is telling me these beings have the ability to emit light from their eyes. I can't tell you how they do it.
Nope.
I've seen it now 7 or 8 times at night. And yet there are many researchers who will say they don't do it. It's impossible. They're purely an ape and they cannot do that. Well, I'm telling you, I've seen it. I've seen it. So
they're more than an ape. And you know something else too? We see orbs before we see these things sometimes.
Yeah.
Not always, but it's really interesting. If you guys are out there in the forest looking for them, I mean, you do your own expeditions and you're actually looking for these things, take your camera along and just scan every once in a while with your camera, because sometimes the orbs aren't visible to the naked eye. We can't see them, but you can see them
you can see them through a camera.
Yeah, you can see them through your phone, and almost everybody has their phone. Yeah, he's standing right behind you. You better run. Run!
Don't turn around.
Just run.
That's hilarious.
I have a good sense of humor about it. I have to, because it scared the daylights out of me. I've never been afraid of anything in my life. I was afraid of that. And Jim got me over camping because he took me into the midst of them.
Yeah.
And made us camp.
Well, the first time we went camping, we were just on a tarp outside. We weren't even in a tent. We were just in sleeping bags out in the open.
Experience.
That was fun. But so now there's 2 more. The second to last one, again, I take it where the evidence leads you is all I can say. But Jill bought this new horse. His name's Tonto or Hundo. Tonto. Best natured horse I've ever met. Just a sweetheart, just calm and wouldn't hurt a fly, just as sweet as he can be. But he's new, and so he's feeling insecure with the other horses. So on this particular night, he was in the corral right up against the fence closest to the house that he could get without getting outside the corral. And so the camera's running. There's a long period of silence. Then you hear, I don't know what it is that we hear, but you hear a big noise.
And let me put this note in there. When horses spook, I've never heard a horse make a sound when they spook. They just run.
They
jump sideways 500 feet. I mean, I have never heard a horse make a sound because it spooked.
So there's a big crash. Something makes a noise, and then I won't give it away. I'll let you hear what happens after that. So, and this is when you have to cue up a little bit, Steph.
Please.
Let us. I was able to cue it earlier when I was previewing it.
Are you going to start it?
Because it's this long period of silence of 20, 30 seconds before this sound happens. And if we have to play it, no, that's fine. Just play the whole thing. But yeah, whatever. And just so you know, this view is from where John sleeps in the outbuilding, looking down. The corral's off to the right. Okay, you can stop it there, Steph. So, and it's dead quiet. I was gonna say pitch quiet. It's not pitch quiet. it's it's dead quiet. And it's
So-
what I think it was 10:30 at night.
And let me preface it with this. John was out on that patio smoking about 15 minutes before all this happened. And he could hear something coming up on the gravel in front of him, but he couldn't see anything between the horse trailer and the barn. And every time it took a footstep, something was throwing a rock at him from the opposite side of the house. And it would throw a rock and it would land. And so he knew there was two of them out there. So he just didn't want to deal with it. We got so much stuff going on here that he just went in the house and said the heck with it. And then 15 minutes later, that happened. This is my theory. I think whatever that noise was, I have no idea if that was, I think I had some, what do you call it? Corrugated metal and stuff out there by the barn. I think it tripped one of them tripped on that metal and made a horrendous sound.
Kind of
And
went
then you hear the
like that.
other one, and the other one's laughing at him. It sounds just like a laugh. You can hear that.
Oh, it definitely was a laugh, but
I know.
and there was nobody out there.
No, and then you hear my son come out and go, "What the
What the hell?"
And he goes and he checks the horse, and the horse was okay, but he was no longer standing by the house. He
No.
was all the way on
So
the far side
the
of
horse
street.
ran all the way across the corral to the far side. Again,
Yep.
as far as he could get away from
Right.
that
That thing.
noise. And David said he was standing there with his legs
kept
spread
his
out,
legs
trembling,
spread
like waiting for the next thing to happen. And
It was bad. Poor boy.
so
anyway.
so they laughed. They were laughing at the horse or laughing at the other Sasquatch. I don't know.
Because he tripped. or
But
something.
laughed
I
just
don't
like a
know what-
person. Crazy.
It-
Crazy.
We get crazy stuff out here. Let me tell you.
So the last video I want to show you, I want to show you because we were mistaken on this. We thought we had a video of a Sasquatch stepping out into the view of the camera. For weeks, I thought that's what we had captured, and it wasn't. And I'll tell you afterwards what it was. But this is why we have to really do our due diligence to check, to do an investigation and go where that was during the daytime and see what's there. But you'll think it's a Sasquatch too when you see it step out. But go ahead and play that one. It's the Bigfoot stepping out one.
Oh, almost. It's not playing for some.
No, it's not playing. Let me try. See what happens. Okay. Is it not? It's not playing now. So, it's 1 second long. Okay. Now I picked the wrong one. So there's on the very far left of the screen. There's snow on the ground. It's late at night. You see a figure step out, and then that's where Jill cut the video because she didn't know there was anything in that video. You were
There were some horses that came on the property that night, and I
Yeah.
was trying to figure out because they tore my fence completely
Yeah.
down. So
but you didn't know at that point, so you cut it right there without realizing it. So we see this thing step out, and for all the world, it looks like a Sasquatch stepping
does.
out, and then it's cut. And so we went around and around, and finally we had to get a blow it up big on a TV. And only then, huge image, could you see that it was a horse walking straight on, stepping in. So you don't see the hind legs, you only see the front two legs. And we were wrong. It wasn't a Sasquatch, it was a horse. And it was not your horses, right?
No, it was, I don't know where they came from. They disappeared. Another mystery. But anyway, they came and tore all my fence down.
Yeah.
So,
they wanted to get in with your horses for some reason.
So, anyway.
But, you know, we make mistakes. This is not a perfect science, an exact science. And it's not uncommon for researchers to get stuff on film that's, we think it's a Bigfoot. We talk like it's a Bigfoot. It's not a Bigfoot. And
I'll say this, the only picture besides John's where the thing knocked him out and he was accidentally in the photo in the back. The only picture we ever got really of a Bigfoot was that one between the sheds. But
yeah, shoot. I wish I had
so
I don't think I can find it now. It would take too much time, but
it was taken on a game camera, and it was in between two sheds that I had out there for
that's a creepy photo. I gotta find it and show it to these guys next week.
It is a huge head. I hope he showed it to you.
looking around the shed. It's really creepy.
Now, I don't know anything about spectrogram and all that, but we did take it to an expert who is an expert in pixelation because it was a game camera, and he pixelated. He did whatever they do when they pixelate it, and he said, yes, that is two eyeballs and a mouth. He said, you know, I'm not going to say what it is, but I will say that that's two eyes and a mouth.
Definitely.
So, I mean, but anyway,
well, Jill,
so I have the cameras around my house so I don't have to sell this place and go because I don't.
But with all those cameras, they never get in front of the camera.
Nope, and that suits me just fine. I know you want to see them.
I do.
To your house.
Well, Jill, I really appreciate you coming on. I wanted everyone to meet you and hear about the stuff going on in your property.
Well, you guys should come and do one of those expeditions with us.
Yes, you should.
God. We had one. They were running around camp all night long. I mean, just stomping.
Yeah, running around our camp.
Just unbelievable.
We've had them untie the horses at night, and we have to go get the horses and bring them back and tie them back up. And we've seen UFOs. It's been a lot of fun.
It's a wild
these trips. Ride. It's been a wild ride.
You never know what you're going to see on those trips.
You never know.
Or smell or anything else. So.
Well, I really appreciate you coming, and
Wayne, come on, Wayne, you gotta
go. But it's mark May 30th for the Sasquatch Genome team to come on and do a review. Next week, my guest is Harriet McFeely, and she's going to tell a story that's going to blow your socks off about someone getting healed by a Sasquatch. That's all I'm going to say. It's an incredible story. And if she wasn't there herself, I would never have believed what she told me. So thank you guys. Appreciate all your comments. And we will see you next week. And see you, Jill, soon.
Stay safe out there, you guys. Be aware of your environment and don't take anything for granted.
Yeah.
Never. Don't.
Amen.
So.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.